Welcome learners, welcome to the SWAM portal of Aligarh Muslim University. This is module 10 of week 3rd program. The topic of today's discussion is developments of environmental education in India with special reference to teachers training institutes. I am Nakhat Nasreen from Department of Education, Aligarh Muslim University. After learning this module, you will be able to define and describe the meaning, nature and purposes of environmental education, explain in detail the origin and development of environmental education in the global scenario, and you will be able to elaborate the trends of development of environmental education in India. Moreover, you will be able to analyze and evaluate the trends and development of environmental education in teachers training institutes in India. Before going into the detailed discussion, we need to first define environmental education. Environmental education is the process of recognizing values and clarifying concepts in order to develop skills and attitudes necessary to understand and appreciate the interrelatedness among man, his culture and his biophysical surroundings. As you know, learner, we live in an environment which is rich of resources, and we need to understand the relationship of man with this environment. We need to understand various concepts related to our environment, and in order to develop skills and attitudes necessary to understand and appreciate this interrelatedness with man, his culture and his biophysical environment. This is necessary because environmental education entails practice in decision making and self formulation of a code of behavior about issues concerning environmental quality. Regarding to origin of environmental education, it may be traced back to 1960s, and one of the first articles about environmental education as a new movement appeared in 1969. It was authored by James A. Swan, and a definition of environmental education first appeared in the Journal of Environmental Education in the same year, that is 1969. It was written by William B. Stapp. Stapp later on became the first director of environmental education for UNESCO. Another landmark in the series of development of environmental education is the Stockholm Conference. This is regarded as one of the oldest efforts in the field of development of environmental education. The Stockholm Declaration was organized by UNESCO from June 5 to 16 in the year 1972. The declaration of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment was attended by many countries. More than 120 countries participated in this conference, and strong deliberations were there. The document formulated 26 principles to inspire and guide the peoples of the world in the preservation and enhancement of the human environment. Listen learners, at that time the efforts were about conservation and protection of the environment, and the first thing was to preserve our environment. We had done enough deterioration of our environment, so in order to protect it and save it from further deterioration, it was decided in the Stockholm Conference that no further deterioration will be done and the environment will be safe and it should be the effort of all countries, all nations to save our environment. Second in the sequence may be counted the Belgrade Charter. It was held in 1975 in October from 13 to 22nd October. The Belgrade Charter was the outcome of the international workshop on environmental education held in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. Now it is called Serbia. The Belgrade Charter was built upon the Stockholm Declaration and adds goals, objectives and guiding principles of environmental education programs. It defines an audience for environmental education which includes the general public. So, the Belgrade Charter addressed entire world as the audience of environmental education, and more objectives were included, more safety measures were taken in order to save the environment, and worldwide efforts were made in this field. Third in the sequence may be counted the Tbilisi Conference. The Tbilisi Conference was held between 14 to 26 October 1977. The declaration noted that the unanimous accord in the important role of environmental education in the preservation and improvement of the world's environment, as well as in the sound and balanced development of the world's communities. So, as you see, the target switched over from just saving the environment to developing a balance between development and quality of life. So, it was thought that an equilibrium should be maintained between development and the quality of life or quality of earth. So, development is also a necessary phenomena. We cannot deny development, we cannot stop development, but at the same time we have to save the earth also, and we have to save the mother nature or mother planet. So, the effort switched over and the target switched over from just saving the environment and improving its quality to maintaining an equilibrium between development and quality of life. The Tbilisi Declaration updated and clarified the Stockholm Declaration and the Belgrade Charter by including new goals, new objectives, characteristics and guiding principles of environmental education. In 1987, Tbilisi +10 conference was held. This is just after 10 years of the earlier conference which was held in Tbilisi. The earlier conference in Tbilisi was held in 1977, and this conference was held in 1987, just 10 years after. That is why it is called Tbilisi +10 conference. This was a joint effort of UNESCO and UNEP, and it was an educational conference on environmental education and training called as Tbilisi +10 conference. It was held in Moscow, and the deliberations emphasized in its opening address, I am just quoting the quote, that in the long run nothing significant will happen to reduce local and international threats to the environment unless widespread public awareness is aroused concerning the essential links between environmental quality and the continued satisfaction of human needs. Human action depends upon motivation, which ultimately depends upon widespread understanding. This is why we feel it is so important that everyone becomes environmentally conscious through proper understanding of environmental education. Now, learners see in this conference, the emphasis was put on developing of awareness, and only knowledge is not important, awareness and skills are needed, because we need to understand our problems. The problems of environment varies from place to place, from region to region and from country to country. It is not the same everywhere. So, we as public and as teachers and students need to understand our own problems and to seek solutions to those problems. So, in order to understand the problems, awareness is important and necessary skills are important. So, the emphasis was on developing awareness, the global awareness, and sharing the responsibility of seeking solutions to those problems. In the sequence of development of environmental education, the next step was 1990 National Curriculum Documentation for Environmental Education. The National Curriculum Documentation for Environmental Education decided that schools would incorporate environmental matters through the national curriculum through some national curriculum subjects, notably geography and science. Further, it was recommended that the programs of study would ensure that environmental matters are taught in other national curriculum subjects also, in order to give other subjects too an environmental dimension. So, not only the science subject, social science subjects, art and literature should also be given a tilt towards environmental problems, and the dimension of environment should be included in all the subjects. The Rio Earth Summit, which was held in 1992, and you see it was after 2 decades or 20 years after the first conference, which was held in 1972 in Stockholm. In this Earth Summit, which was held in 1992, over 80 national councils for sustainable development in developing countries were created between 1992 to 1998 to aid in compliance of international sustainability goals and encourage creative solutions. Under the Agenda 21 of this environment, a major action program focused on sustainable development in the 21st century and topics ranging from poverty, toxic waste and desertification to youth, education and free trade were the important emphasis. The key outcome of this Earth Summit was the recommendation that environment and development education should be incorporated as an essential part of the learning within both formal and non-formal education sectors. A proposal was made that governments should strive to update or prepare strategies aimed at integrating environment and development as a cross-cutting issue into education at all levels within the next 3 years. Dear learners, after thoroughly discussing the development of environmental education in global scenario, now we move to the evolution of environmental education in India. Regarding the evolution of environmental education in India, we can trace back the strong action taken by the Honorable Supreme Court of India in 1991. The Honorable Supreme Court of India made environmental education compulsory at all levels of education. In India, the Article 48A of our Constitution reads as, "The state shall endeavour to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country." So, in this article, safeguarding of the forest and protection of wildlife was emphasized. The Article 51A(g) of our Constitution read as, "It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures." So, India in its initial stages started with protection of wildlife, conservation of forest and our natural and national heritage in the form of rivers, lakes, forests and wildlife. So, this was the initial step made by the Government of India and the Honorable High Court. The 42nd Amendment to the Constitution of India was brought about in the year 1974, and according to this, it is the responsibility of the state government to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. The latter under fundamental duties makes it the fundamental duty of every citizen to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for living. Another landmark in India may be traced to the National Policy on Education 1986. It was after renewed in 1992. The National Policy on Education 1986 stated, "There is a paramount need to create a consciousness of the environment. It must permeate all ages and all sections of society, beginning with the child." The National Curriculum Framework 2005 envisaged that environmental education be imparted in an infusion model in the upper primary and secondary stages of school education, with an aim to bring about sensitivity towards the environment. So, the major emphasis of these two documents were on sensitization of individuals towards their environment. The NCF 2005 also emphasized that environmental education should be taken into consideration as a holistic approach, and by holistic approach we mean to say that environment should be considered in its totality, and all the sectors at national, regional and local level should think about building a capacity for critical thinking and problem solving skills instead of rote memorization. Environmental education should address problems of poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, population growth and ecological disorganization, which are directly impinging on the country's sustainable development, as sustainable development calls for a dynamic equilibrium among the social, cultural, economic and ecological factors. The first National Environmental Education Week in India was held by the National Environment Education and Training Foundation during April 10 to 16, 2005 in Ahmedabad. Subsequently, the Education for a Sustainable Future Conference was held by the Center for Environment Education in Ahmedabad, India. The conference was attended by more than 800 learners, thinkers and practitioners from 40 countries. The Center for Environment Education, that is CEE, was established in August 1984 as a center of excellence, and it was supported by the Ministry of Environment and Forest in India. CEE, a national institution with its headquarters in Ahmedabad, has a mandate to promote environmental awareness nationwide. It has drafted and offered environmental studies as a compulsory subject and organized orientation courses for college teachers. Under CCE programs, there is a program, the Green Teacher. Green Teacher program is not only organized in India, rather it is a global effort, and in India, Green Teacher is a one-year diploma program. It includes 2 compulsory contact sessions of about 5 days each. The self-study hours are approximately 60 hours per module and another 200 hours for projects. The Green Teacher offers teachers an opportunity to empower themselves with the requisite knowledge and skills for effective transaction of concepts in environment and development in the classroom. All teachers and educators, irrespective of their subjects of specialization, will find this diploma meaningful. The teaching skills are enhanced by the teachers and are relevant to any subject for any discipline. So, learners of all disciplines and teachers of all disciplines are invited in this Green Teacher program. Anyone can enroll in this program. In this slide, you see an example of Green Teacher program. Look here, the teachers have visited the community and they have been in the environment. They are studying the environmental problems, they are understanding what is their environment, and they are taking notes of just by being in the environment. So, they are realizing the aim of environmental education, that it is a type of education which should be about the environment and by being in the environment. Study centers of Green Teacher program are established at Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Delhi, Guwahati, Lucknow and Pune. These were the beginning centers, and a study center can be established at other locations also, depending upon the number of enrollment. CEE has developed a number of sources, e-sources and learning material. CCE, with support of National Council for Teacher Education, that is NCTE, has developed a set of 3 resource books in English, and these are for teacher educators at D.Ed, B.Ed and M.Ed level. CEE North developed 3 resource books in Hindi for the teacher educators. In this photograph, you can see teacher educators taking training in the center. One of such programs developed by CEE is the SCERT CEE Capacity Building Program. This program is developed by CEE in collaboration with SCERT. In the year 2007, CEE was invited by SCERT to provide technical support in the state level master trainers training program focused on creating safe school environment. This workshop was planned by SCERT in context to UN Decade for Education for Sustainable Development, that is UNDESAD. With reference to its time for educators and all other interested in the cause of education to ponder over how safe our schools are and the extent to which they offer a safe school to the children to fulfill the cherished promise of educating them, and most importantly the kind of future nation being created in our schools. This is an example of teacher training program. Here the teachers are getting a sort of training by a female teacher, and this is organized by SCERT and CEE, Ahmedabad. Education for Sustainable Development ESD in formal education system is also developed by CEE, an international advanced training program sponsored by SIDA, that is Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. It aims to provide professional and opportunity to exchange knowledge and experiences in ESD processes within formal education system. The program was coordinated by Ramboll Nacka AB, Sweden, in partnership with Regional Environmental Education Center, South Africa and CEE, India. In the year 2000, 189 nations made a promise to free people from extreme poverty and multiple deprivations. This pledge became the 8 Millennium Development Goals to be achieved by 2000. Under this head, that is Millennium Declaration of 2000, 8 goals have been set by India, and the target was to achieve these goals by the year 2015, though unfortunately we have not been able to achieve all these goals, but among the 8 goals, one was to ensure environmental sustainability. This is India's progress towards achieving the Millennium Development Goals, and you can find the details online. The source has been given to you. You can study these details through internet. Thank you very much.